Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to episode number 27 of the Nova Holistic podcast, where we talk about all things holistic, from your mind to your emotional body, your physical body, and your soul or spirit. In other words, your energy body. Today, I have a very special guest with me. Her name is Beth Miller, and I want to welcome Beth. Let me just add her. Hi, Beth. How you doing?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. Thank you for being here with me. Um, I'm really glad that we finally got to record this episode. We found some time to come together and talk about some really important things today. So truly welcome and thank you for making the time to be here with us.
Oh, I'm so excited for our conversation.
That's great. So, um, I don't, as we discussed, I don't have a particular structure for these conversations. I like to be really present with you and your energy and really take a deep dive into, as much as possible in the time that we have, into who you are and how and why did you get to do what you do, be who you are today. What was your soul journey? What was your emotional journey? What was your life like to get you to this point? So, on that note, I'd like to invite you, if you don't mind, to introduce yourself a little bit. Tell us a bit about yourself, but not just what you do, because that's part of who you are, and I imagine your purpose, but also who you feel you are in the world and what your gifts are, and etc. Just whatever you comes to you from your soul, from your heart.
Excellent. So, as you said, I'm Beth Miller. I am Canadian. I am a mom to three wonderfully crazy little men who are 7, 9, and 11. I've been married for 14 years. Here's my resume. This is the stuff you don't want. This is the stuff that you're like, what are you? And I help women.
No, but
Save
I
their marriages.
do. I do.
I help women save their marriages. Women who are on the verge of divorce. It seems to be the niche I've fallen into. I didn't seek out this world to help women in their marriages. I was led to it. And I have a powerful journey behind how I got here. But it's phenomenal. Like, we'll get into it, but when you follow your intuition, it's like I have this little piece of paper right here. It actually slipped out of a bunch of other pieces of paper, and I'm leaving it here. It says expect to be surprised. And that's what happens when you start to just like take risks, jump off cliffs, and just follow your intuition. So where shall we go with this? What do you want to know?
I'm the thing that jumped out at me most, Beth, is when you said how your intuition led you to this. Unpack a little bit this idea that you were led to this point. What did that look like? What was that?
What it was the shedding of the old me and becoming a new 2.0 Beth. And who knows, I might have actually been on like version 5.0, but it was a new version of me. But it was a version that like it was stripped of me. Like I was just forced into it. I had no choice. So almost 4 years ago, I had a brain bleed, like a brain bleed. Who has a
Wow.
brain bleed in their 30s? I didn't even know it was really a thing. I had no idea. And I lost my ability to walk. Lost my ability to walk on my right side and write with my right hand. And so I was thrown into this position where I couldn't be a mom, couldn't be a wife. I was in a hospital, couldn't walk, couldn't do anything. I had to ring a bell to go to the bathroom. It was horrible. It was a really
Oh, honey.
terrifying time of my life. And I was a wreck, complete wreck, because number one, I was fearful of my future. I didn't know if I could work again, didn't know if I could walk again, didn't know what the type of mom I would be. And yeah, that was the beginning of the new Beth. And that started my journey of figuring out who I really was. And I realized I'd been pushing away a lot of parts of me for a long time and acting very inauthentically, just following a path, people pleasing, not great at making decisions. My confidence, self-love, self-worth were really low, and I had no idea, but I was forced into this. And I can look back and see it as one of the best things that ever happened to me, but it's been like the most amazing ride ever since.
So, connecting what you just said with being led, what I'm hearing is that this process of your, you know, the physical expression of your brain bleeding ultimately led you to things in your life, your values maybe changing completely, that then got you to where you are now.
Yeah, that's correct.
Can you explain to our audience how something so, I imagine, it's never happened to me, I've never had a brain bleed, but I imagine, I mean, you said your youngest son was 7. If this happened 4 years ago, I'm calculating in my head, he would have been 3 years old. I imagine when you have such young children, that's terrifying. Like, I can only imagine the thoughts going through your head. So how does something so terrifying end up being this profound, extraordinary life change that you seem to speak about with such gratitude?
Yeah, I wasn't so thankful when it happened, that's for sure. I was
I bet you weren't.
angry. Oh, I was angry. I
Right.
was scared. I was mad at people. I was mad at everyone who said, "You're so strong. You can get through this." I just wanted to be, oh, I wanted to yell at them because I didn't ask for this. I didn't want this. I thought things were fine. And it was really in a bad place, super bad place. And even you just saying that, my kids being my youngest, about 3 years old, it brings tears to my eyes. He didn't have me for a month. He didn't have his mom tucking me in. I was on FaceTime. I'd read him a book on FaceTime. That was what I could
Oh,
do for him. Like, it broke my heart. It was really hard. It was a tough time. And
yeah.
I didn't realize about 6 months later that I was actually grieving myself. I had no idea that a part of my anxiety and depression that I had developed from that whole experience was a grief of myself, that low and sad feeling, that lost feeling. I had no idea who I was anymore. And it seems so simple. Like, you should, Beth, just go back to work. Go back to work. Go back to being the mom you were. I couldn't. I don't know why. I just wasn't. It didn't light me up anymore. Work. I knew I was probably going to have to go back, but I was teaching at the time. I was a high school teacher, and
Oh, wow.
I
Okay.
I remember 6 months before my bleed, I clearly remember the conversation I had with another teacher. He was leaving. He was actually going into like a coaching like field as well. And he told me, we're selling our house. We're moving to Toronto. We're selling everything. We're giving up teaching. And I was just like, whoa, that's incredible. And I said to him, I don't think I'll be in teaching forever. That's all I said. And 6 months later, my brain started to bleed, and that was the end of teaching. But it took a long time to get to a place, about 3 years to get to a place where I'm like, I know in my heart it's not right. It took a long time, maybe not 3, but a couple of years. It was a while to get to that place where I could let go of what I thought was a forever career.
Wow. So let me first say, I mean, I'm utterly, I didn't see. This is the reason why I don't want to know about my guests, because I want to have the most authentic, heartfelt, like response that like genuine response that I would imagine, so that I can then really hold space for you to tell your story, right? And I want to ask, first of all, how are you doing these days? Is like everything okay? Are you doing fine? How are
You know
you?
what? Things are good. I'll be honest though, I had a teary moment this afternoon. My husband walked in, he's like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "No, I'm not." I was like in a massive like cleaning binge. Like, I had stacks of papers everywhere, and I was cleaning my inbox, and I stumbled across an email from my neurologist. And it was a summary of all my MRIs, because I get my brain scanned constantly because they're watching for the bleed, because it could bleed again. There's a really good possibility that it
Right.
will, just because that's a whole nother story. Brain surgery, open brain surgery is the one way to fix this. And it's causes more. If I do the brain surgery, they could nick something, I'll be more paralyzed, or I don't operate and it could just bleed and it's a big mess. Like, it's so rare what I have. They just don't know if it's going to bleed 100%, but it might. And so I could prevent it with brain surgery, or I can just kind of go with the flow and see what happens. And so I was just reading over these reports, and it just brings it all back. Sometimes when I get into it, most of the time I can ignore it and be like, I'm safe, I'm good. In this moment, I'm flowing with life. But then sometimes if I start to think about the past, it takes me back. But it just means there's still some pain there. There's still some hurt. I have some further work to do on myself. And so that's what triggers are. Triggers are these little, sometimes you can say gifts, but these little hints. It's your body's way of yelling, hey, I'm not okay. I need a little attention over here. I need some love. And that's what I had today. That part of me needed some love.
I am beyond grateful for you, and your willingness to go there with me today. And if any of this gets a bit much, just let me know, because there's a million other questions I want to ask you as well. And we're already at 11 minutes. And
oh my gosh.
Where can you believe it?
Oh, I'm an open book. You can ask me anything.
Thank you, sweetheart. Thank you so much. You know, I hope it's okay to ask this. I'm going to ask it anyway, and feel free to, of course, answer it any way you feel most comfortable. But I want to say, we live in a post-pandemic world, and there's this almost collective fear-based psychosis that's happened. You know, that's so, I mean, you and I sort of come from a similar field, obviously psychology and holistic health and wellbeing and all of that. So we have that very much in common. It's no secret that the degree of fear energy on this planet is so high. Anxiety, psychosis, I mean, just panic and survival instinct for most people, sometimes I think, is almost as intense as if tigers were actually chasing us down the street, you know what I mean? And sometimes I think it's worse because there's this unseen something that we have so much fear around, right? And so learning how to manage the energy of fear within and without is not an easy thing to do. It's supremely challenging. And so I'm wanting to ask you, how do you manage any internal, fears or anxieties, or what is it that allows you to have those moments of living your highest potential and joy and all of that, so that you can live?
Great question. So I've expanded my toolbox. At the time, my toolbox consisted of breathing. My social worker was always like coming in. She's like, do your square breathing. Breathe in for 4, hold for 4, release for 4, hold for 4, breathe in for 4. And I would say, this isn't working. It wasn't working. I'm like, this works for all of 1 minute. And the minute I stop, I'm back into fear. This strategy sucks. There's got to be more to it. And that's what really took me down the path of the work I now do. I had to discover a ton of different modalities that I use to combat fear. Fear is real. And part of this fear was also during pandemic times too. Like, I had pandemic fear. I thought that if I saw my mom, I might kill her if I had COVID, and then I see my mom. And so I didn't see my mom, and I was needing her. I was very isolated in my healing as well, because I just had my family, like my 3 kids, which was a blessing at the same time, because they distracted me from my fear at times. But other than that, I was a puddle. I was crying all the time. And I ended up going, I fought medication for so long. Like, I didn't want to go on anti-anxiety meds or depression meds. I didn't, but 6 months into it, I did. I needed a little bit of chemical help. And so that was a big part too of my grief, being like, am I too weak? Like, I had this belief that I'm weak because I need the medicine, but I'm off it now, but I needed it as I don't want to call it a crutch, but I needed it at the time to help with my chemical imbalance with my fear. So I did have that tool. But prior to that, I went onto this deep dive into I found a shaman. Shaman was the one who really introduced me to an incredible fear-based technique where, like, I really went deep into my subconscious mind, and I actually met my fear. I saw my fear. I was face to face with my fear. And I now do that with a lot of the women I work with. And just one visual that I do with the women I work with, it's like, go into your heart space, like just close your eyes and go into your heart space. And if you have fear in there right now, just picture it as a little you, tiny little you. She's almost like a child. She's just scared. The fear isn't as big as we think it is. It's just little, but it gets big, it gets magnified. And what we do is we bring in our authentic self or our true you, or like just that real you. And you hold that little fear's hand, and you almost picture yourself like loving, like a child who's sad or scared, and like pick up that fear and you say, thank you, fear, because you have a place in my world. You just can't be this big. Thank you for your little warning sign, but I'm safe and I'm okay. And you hold that fear and you say, we can do this together, but I'm taking the lead. And that's that true you. And sometimes we just have to talk to that fear. And so that's one. You can't always go right to the talking to the fear. If it's acute, like deep fear, then we got to get right to the root of it. Like, when have you felt this fear before? What is the fear rooted in? But sometimes when you're just starting to like manage that fear day to day, and it's a fairly like simple one that you've been working on for a while, you can just talk to it, and it's like, oh, and then sometimes you start to laugh. You're like, oh yeah, we're good, we got this, and off you go skipping. You just see the two of them skip off together. So many strategies. But I work with hypnosis now, and so I really help women just relax their mind, and we go back to memories of fear, childhood. All of a sudden they didn't realize they're so scared because of their relationship that they witnessed with their parents, or seeing their brother get hit by their dad, or just bullying, and just things that have happened in their past, media, and that's playing in their subconscious mind, which is driving fear. It's like layers and layers of fear, and then it like overfills the fear bottle.
Nice metaphor.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then how do you then go from letting go? Am I correct in remembering that you said it took you a couple of years to sort of fully let go of the idea that teaching was your forever career?
Yeah, I knew it had to go, but officially doing
Yeah.
the like, I'm
Yeah.
done, like in my heart, done. Like I could say it out loud to a lot of people. It took a long time, even though I wasn't teaching, but I
Sure.
couldn't
Yeah.
say it anymore. In my heart, I was like, I might go back to it. What if I might go back. I don't want to go back, but what if I have to? It's safe. It's the government pays it, like pays your wages. Like, you always have income. It seems safe. But I knew safe wasn't my option. But I felt programmed because of fear, right? Fear of money. That was the new fear that was coming up. If I don't have enough money, what if I don't make enough money? But I make way more money now than I ever did as a teacher. Like, it's incredible. Like, when I start aligning with what I need, it's amazing that I now have different freedom and flexibility, and like more access to things for my kids and my family because of this position that I'm in now in coaching women. And so working through fear of money was another one. Oh, there's fear everywhere, like you said.
So then how do you then get to, I'm reading your little tag, marriage coach, Soulify wellness. Did I say that right?
Oh, you got it. Yeah, I'm a marriage coach, and my company is called Soulify Wellness. So Soulify, where
Beautiful.
the ify is intensifying the soul. So we're just going in a soul, heart, like you said, the energy body. We're getting into that, plus the soul, plus the heart, physical body. Like you said, it's all connected. And you need all pieces working together to really feel healthy.
And what was it about this particular area of coaching, as in marriage coaching, that got magnified in your world that you are doing now?
Gosh, this is where you just like, that's where my little piece of paper that came out today, expect to be surprised. Like, I would never in a million years told you I was a marriage coach years ago. Yes, I love psychology and relationships, and like that is a passion of mine, but to be coaching women specifically on their marriages, how it came to be was I was kind of during this whole transition of my life, not sure if I wanted to stay in teaching forever, then a brain bleed. And then my marriage was tough too. I had 3 very young kids. Those are trying times as it is on a marriage. And so we were going through our own struggles. And what happened was, through my inner work, through my grieving of my old self and transforming into my new self, that whole process, I stopped people pleasing. I was better at making decisions. I started to gain more confidence. I started to feel like enough. I didn't need his validation the same way. I wasn't taking things he said personally. Like if he was upset about something, I used to think it was my fault. I was like, what did I do wrong? Like I was triggered so often that by working on myself, I became more solid in myself, and our relationship improved, our communication improved. And so the tools I was using, yes, it was helping with my fear. It was helping me with my confidence. It was helping me in so many areas after my brain bleed, but it was also transforming my marriage. And I didn't realize it at the time. It was like, we're talking months later. I was like, whoa, we're not arguing the same way as we used to. We're not in the same, things were better. And I was transforming myself, and it was transforming my relationship. And then I started to use some of these modalities on friends, and then I started to get some clients in, and then I was like, this is something. And it started to snowball into something so, so incredible. And that's where I am now. That is, yeah, it's hard to explain, but it just kept like little things kept showing up. I've been interviewed as experts on marriage podcasts, and there's like been stories have been written, I've been interviewed and blogs written, and people just show up in my life, and they're like for the most amazing reasons. And I'm not chasing after things. I'm just allowing things to come in. And it's so hard just to say this to anyone who hasn't experienced it, but for those that are like ready, you just got to figure out what the blocks are. You know where you are right now, you know who you want to become. And then what's in the way of that? And usually it's yourself. So figure out how are you stopping yourself? It's not usually other people. It's not money. It's not where you live. It's not your education. Like usually it's you that's in the way. So getting yourself out of the way, but it's not as easy as just telling her to get out of the way. You got to go get curious, and often your triggers will tell you what's in the way, how you're blocking yourself.
Yeah, don't they ever? The good old triggers. Oh, as you were talking, I was thinking about how interesting it is that it's not a relationship coach, it's specifically a marriage coach. Why do you think that is?
Lived experience is part of it. And relationships, there's so much to that, right? Like where could be,
Mm,
you know what? I could coach in all aspects, but marriage is, I guess, where one of my passions are, I guess, with my own lived experience. Often
mm,
I work specifically with women. I do have some male
mhm,
clients, but I particularly attract wives whose husbands are not on board with going to counseling, who are at a place where they're sometimes
mm.
at a crossroads. They want their marriage. They do. They want, and they often have one more try in them, but sometimes they know they want better. They want to feel happy. They're miserable. Like they're often like 4 out of 10 happy. I'm like, you're not happy at all. And so
Yeah.
marriage is, again, it's one of those things that just, it fell on my lap that way. And it wasn't as broad as relationship. So it's interesting that you said that. I've never thought of it that way, that it's not relationship, it's marriage. So thank you for that.
Oh, of course. Yeah. And because I'm also thinking about, I mean, you would know this because you work in the paradigm of energy, right? So you would understand, right? More recently, there's been a whole shift in collective consciousness around how we understand marriage. So there's the external marriage with another person, with another soul, but there's also, one could say, the sacred marriage within, the marriage between all the parts working together in union, the marriage that then so beautifully is mirrored outside of yourself. And until, that internal union, sacred union is not sort of happening, then most commonly the external one is reflecting, I guess, the quality of that, of how we are inside. And so I wonder whether you use a familiar, contemplate the idea of that, I guess you could say, divine feminine and masculine energy within. Tell me a little bit
Absolutely.
about where you are with that. Talk to me about that. I'm curious.
Yeah, I'd love your take on this as well. I think I default into more masculine energy. I'm a doer, type A personality. So I still have tendencies to go back there, especially when I get really excited about things. So when I'm really excited, I give myself that permission to just go at it, have fun, work hard, play hard. But then when I am exhausted and tired, I have to really, really talk myself down to, you need to rest. We need to go back into that just creative space, more nurturing space. But I think when you have your own business, you can do that so much easier because I can make my own schedule. I can carve that kind of time out for myself versus where I was before, where I was more of a 9 to 5. And you can't take a day to just be creative or just journal or just go into like a space of like different space, not the doing space. But yeah, I default back to masculine. I think it's the role I've taken on in my marriage as well. We're both very masculine in the house. And so I take on a lot of the household responsibilities, the calendars, and that's also part of me trying to let go of some of that control, which I have through my brain bleed. I also have some like tiny bits of cognitive stuff. In a way, it's a bit of a blessing. I'm not as A-type. I'm very much more go with the flow because I don't have necessarily the capacity to take on as much as I used to. I get tired easier, and when there's a lot of distractions, I can't focus as well, which is really great when I'm working in coaching because I'm often one-on-one with my clients, so I can really hone in on their energy, which is so powerful. So anyway, masculine, feminine. I'm working on getting more into my feminine more often, but I definitely hang out in masculine. So I'd love your thoughts on
that. It's really interesting. Excuse me. And it's not surprising, actually. Furball moment. It's not surprising, actually. Modern women, if you will, have developed a lot more of those masculine, traits of doing. But because we've forgotten how sacred and important attributes of the feminine energy are, if you will, or feminine attributes, which is that stillness, that contemplation, the flow, the intuition, just holding space, for another and for ourselves. Being connected through the feminine, inner feminine energy with the highest version of us, as opposed to, the ego self or the child self, or, any of those other aspects of ourselves. I understand what you're saying, but obviously my own journey, where I had to, first of all, understand what it means to have the interplay between the two energies within me, and then learn how to allow them to work together as a team, that union of the two, so that I can be in internal balance and flow as opposed to internal battle or friction. Yeah.
I can relate to that battle at times. And it's just, I think a big part of the shift is awareness. And all I desire for all my clients is to have that awareness to start when you start to feel, you're like, you know what, this isn't right. And so then the curiosity clicks in. Okay, I'm not feeling right. I'm feeling exhausted. So you have that awareness. Check, done. Now get curious. Why is this here? And sometimes we don't always know why, but then somatically going into it. Okay, how am I feeling this in my body? Where am I feeling this in my body? What does this feel like in my body? Do I want to just focus on that area? If it's on my heart and my heart feels really heavy, or I have this sinking feeling in my stomach, just focus on that and ask yourself, close your eyes. Like, why is this here? Body, what am I holding on to here? And then sometimes that'll help us shake that up too. And whether it's leading to some of the imbalances between masculine and feminine energy or other things. But it's really important that starts with that awareness that, you know what, I don't like the way I feel. Let's figure this out. But
Yeah.
I think it's key what you said, that union of the masculine feminine, that they're not in isolation, that they're together, and the more you can have them and flow together, that's really nice.
It's a beautiful expression, isn't it? And then there's no competition with another. When you understand, if someone's holding masculine energy, then maybe, we just need to hold space for that and be more in the feminine energy. And by the way, I believe that this is not gender specific. I believe that this is an energy that flows within everybody, and it's not at all sex or gender specific. It's like the positive and the negative polarity of a battery.
I agree. I will second that belief.
Cool. So, okay. I was wondering whether you would do me the honor of being my guide for a minute. I want to share something with you.
Sure, let's do this.
The last couple of weeks since the full moon in Capricorn specifically, which was like on the 3rd of July, that energy feels like it just kicked me in the guts. Like it just kicked my butt. We've had things happen at home and everything, like so many things happened that were not particularly challenging on their own, but it's like when 10 little challenging things happen all at once and they all have to be dealt with. It feels like, let me rephrase that. I felt like I was managing, but any big push or anything, I would have been pushed over. And so a few days ago, I was hearing a warning. My body was trying to tell me to slow down. And to rest. And I was responding with, yep, I'm acknowledging you. I'm loving myself. I'm going to honor myself, but I'll just quickly go and clean the bathroom. And so I pulled my back and I've been barely able to move, which is why you're seeing me wiggle, because I'm trying to get more comfortable because it hurts when I sit. And I've been trying to like just manage this. And I'm obviously doing my own set of, understanding what's going on around this, but I'm wondering whether you would give me the honor of, if I were your client and I said to you that this is what I did and this is what's happened, how my body's responded by forcing me to slow down, obviously, what would you say to me? What do you think this is a representation of? Because I bet I'm not on my own.
Well, I can make assumptions, absolutely, but I would challenge you. I would ask you to close your eyes. And if you want, I can take you through this right now. So just closing your eyes, take a deep breath in through your nose, a strong exhale, nice ocean breath out. And just do that 2 more times. Just slow breath in. And then exhaling. And on that next breath that you take in a moment, you're going to breathe in a color. On this next breath in, I want you to breathe in a color, any color. Just go with the first color that comes to your mind. And you're going to breathe that color in, and it's going to act like it's a waterfall of that color. Let me know what color you decide to breathe in. What color did you breathe in? Just keeping your eyes closed.
Pink.
Oh, gorgeous. So just breathing in that beautiful color pink. You can continue to breathe it in. Just letting it flow all the way down to your body. You may find that it's just kind of swirling and twirling, spreading and flowing within your torso. As you do that, just acknowledge your body. Are there any sensations coming up within your body right now? Heaviness, tightness, anything that you're feeling? If you are, just let me know where you're feeling those sensations in your body.
So it's my lower back on the right side.
So I want you to take
throbbing. Yeah.
So let's take your attention there. You just keep breathing in that beautiful pink and even sending some of that pink right there. Just focusing your attention on that bottom lower back where that throbbing sensation is. Just go into that area, taking all your attention there. It's almost like you have super focus on that area. As you have that super focus on that area, just asking your inner self, what am I holding here? Why is this here? Just listen for any answers that come up. You may hear it as a word, you may see it as an image or a flash. Let's go with the first thing that comes up. What am I holding here? Why is this here? Are there any messages? Would you like to share them with me?
So there's a younger voice that's frustratingly saying to me, why aren't you listening to me?
Yeah, anything else? That's a beautiful voice. Anything else? That may be it, but if there's more, feel free to share.
The voice is saying that we've got some work to do. I'm seeing a shovel and like a digging, which I'm perceiving as there's some digging deep that needs to happen. I'm seeing a finger pointing at nerve endings as I'm seeing inside of my body, meaning that there's, or this is how I'm perceiving it, that there's some old, outdated things that are time to let go of so they don't play on my nerves anymore. That's so interesting.
Yeah, that is amazing.
Yeah, that's it for now. That's what I'm saying.
All right, we would continue on at this point, but if you want, did you want to open your eyes or do you want to carry on with this?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there you go. Well done. So that's what I would say
That's
is there.
really, yeah.
That's what's going on there. And
Yeah,
I think that was
I think so
maybe
too.
a bit, I feel like I know where you're going. It was probably a sign that you're doing too much, but then you got such a deep message with such incredible imagery just from that simple exercise of just going inward. Our body knows the answers.
Doesn't it? Like
We just don't always like them, so we
fail.
ignore them.
Yeah, that's such a classic. And you know, just between you and me as professionals, isn't it? I mean, I didn't really realize this until right now, but I'm thinking, I don't actually think that I have maybe ignored myself in this way, or my, my mind, or my sense of duty, which is very masculine, by the way, isn't it? Sense of duty, ignored my physical body in this way in quite a while, because I used to do that a lot. So I worked on this a lot, right? Myself. And isn't that so funny? And where I could get away with this like 10 years ago, 15 years ago, it turns out that I can't get away with it anymore.
Yeah.
Not
so
even
true.
for a minute. Right?
Yeah. I have an eyelash. You just keep talking for a second. I'm just going to get this out of my eye.
No worries.
But yeah, you're right. Cool. I do believe that, like, what we used to be able to get away with, we can't always anymore. Yeah, so you need to listen. How are you going to listen? Are you going to go do some digging? What are you going to do with your nerves? Like, what do you have any, like, as you were seeing those images or feeling that, was there anything that was coming up? Like, here's an action step that I need to take.
Yeah, so what happens for me, right, particularly, is I have a trained, for many years now, really, really good relationship with myself, right? So I don't think these things through. What happens for me, I'm highly visual, that's one thing. So it's like I see a movie inside of, like, playing out inside of me all the time. So there's lots of imagery and there's lots of...
Oh, I love that. I would love to work with your mind.
And I also work a lot with my senses, like as in the 5 senses. So I sort of experience the world multisensory and multidimensionally. So, but the way I work through this, one of the key things for me is that I will meditate. So I will go in deeper and do some more exploring and do some energy work and, ask for guidance and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
But I also journal, but like write, but I don't do it logically. I do it, what do they call it? Automatic writing. So I just channel
Conscious stream of
whatever's,
writing.
yeah, I just do that a lot. Yeah.
Beautiful technique. That's another one that I picked
Yeah.
up on in my toolbox. And it's almost like it goes right from your mind out your arm into onto the paper. And it's so powerful. And
It's
I'm
so
not sure if this is the
powerful.
way you use it too, but a lot of women I work with, you just write. It can almost look like it's a child's scribble at the end, because sometimes you're not even paying attention to what lines you're writing on.
Yeah.
Not even always coherent sentences. Sometimes it's just like,
Mm.
I'm sad, I'm angry, I can't trust, I don't like this, I'm upset, I'm mad, and blah, blah, blah. It just like circles around, same thing over and over again. And it's so incredible. Like clients I have, they'll write for 10 minutes in this format. Tears are streaming. They can't read the page. They're sometimes ripping through pages because they're writing so hard. Yeah. And it's just this beautiful, like, it's just like your hands automatically going. And some in an Ayurvedic practice, they do something similar called morning pages. So you could look up the morning pages, but that's another technique that's really powerful as well.
Yeah. It's amazing what happens when we bypass, I guess
the 5% of your brain.
guard.
The 5% of your brain, that conscious, like that's it. It's the 95% is where all this stuff is that we need to get to.
Tap into that stuff. It's chef's kiss. Amazing.
Exactly. And that's what I think in my journey of working through all of this was I realized like the traditional counseling therapy, cognitive behavioral therapy all has a place. It absolutely does. But in my own experience and the women I work with, like we got to take it a little bit deeper. Like that therapy has its place, but to get results, like I can get some deeper results. Like with you, we would have had another hour session. We would have kept going with that.
Easy.
We would have been digging out that stuff, no problem. But that stuff's deep. Like when you're doing your traditional therapy, you're not talking about shovels in your nerves. Like that's not usually coming up. But you're holding something there. It's clear. We can keep talking about it, but that's not going to shift it. We got to go into that zone and use that shovel on those nerves, whatever visuals were coming up. That's there.
Do you know what's really interesting is that when I was looking at my nerve endings, they were all really healthy and growing. It's like, like in a plant. Oh my God, the imagery I'm getting now. Like, like in a plant or a tree, when a tree like releases one of its branches and then a new branch starts to grow. So that's because the nerve endings were beautiful and white. And I wonder if that actually, like the regrowth, the recalibration also has to do with, the crystalline body that we are more moving in energetically and sort of that frequency, as opposed to the carbon-based particles. Oh my God, this is just this is so beautiful. Thank you for taking me there. I think that's wonderful.
You must follow up and let me know what comes of this. I'm so excited for you to do some writing and some more meditating, but please continue to share what comes from this.
It's so great. And thank you for doing this with me. I haven't actually, I'm at episode 27 and I haven't done this with anyone yet, but I was really inspired to do this with you today. It just felt like, you would get it, especially because you work energetically. Yeah. I think that's
craziness
so
in all of it. It's so important. It's crazy. When I never worked energetically. I had a very mind psychology base. I didn't have this whole energetic piece, and it's come to me so naturally now that I have that. I think one person once told me, they're like, you were a healer in a past life. That's why it comes so easy to you. I don't know whether that's true or not, but it's so incredible. Like I just get so excited just talking about it, but what we can do and do so fast by just bypassing, like you said, that 5% of our mind, that conscious mind, just going right to that subconscious, the thoughts. Like here it is. Our thoughts is what we need to change. You can change your life through thought alone. What happens is a thought. Like this is real neuroscience, and that's what I also work with. In neuroscience, you have this highway. Just imagine we have all these highways. Those are our neural pathways. Every highway has marbles. So those are our thoughts. Just see the marbles flowing down. Some of the highways are crisscrossing together, so we have multiple neurons all flying flying down these highways together. So every neuron's a thought. So we're just driving these thoughts, 60,000 a day. Those highways are moving. We don't even realize how many marbles are driving down a day, but we do catch certain ones. And even if we don't catch them, we get feelings. So these thoughts in our mind, these feelings in our body, and the feelings, what they are is it's actual chemical. It's neurotransmitters. All of a sudden our body feels flooded with an emotion. It's actually flooded with a chemical or neurotransmitter or hormones. Often cortisol is the one we really pick up on, which is the stress hormone. And that one we don't like. So our body's like, I don't like to feel this stress. How do I get rid of this feeling? To get rid of that feeling, we then need to have a behavior. And if that behavior is a habit of some sort, like smoking, drinking, porn, eating, like if that's what that habit is, you're then training your body, conditioning to get rid of that feeling, that neurotransmitter, by a bad habit. So it all started with a thought. It started with that marble in the brain. So if we can get control of our thoughts, then we can control our feelings, which then changes all our habits and behaviors, and we can then be happier. But to change that thought, that's the key. How do you change that thought so it stops firing? Because they're programmed within you. And to get rid of that thought, we got to go back to the beginning of those thoughts. Why did those thoughts even started? What happened? What were the triggers that started those thoughts? And when we can go back and reprogram, not change our memories, because we can't change our memories, but just say in grade 1, you were made fun of for saying 4 + 4 is 6. 4 + 4 is 8, but you said 6. The class laughed at you. You thought they were laughing at you. They just thought it was silly. But you thought they were laughing at you. You then think you're not good enough. And so now you don't speak your mind as much. And that was just maybe one incident. But it's amazing how that behavior then creates a thought, I feel nervous to speak. And then if you have to speak, it then creates these nervous feelings that then flood your body with cortisol. Like, it's just fascinating how different life events then have created these thoughts that just happen automatically in our body. That was a bit of a tangent. I just had to go on that rant for a second.
That was an amazing rant. Yes, I totally get it. Yeah.
Yeah, when we understand how our brain functions, it's another tool to be able to understand it. And then I'm like, okay, no, I want those thoughts to end. Let's figure this out.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. So if an audience member or somebody was interested to find out, beautiful Beth Miller, more about the depth and the way your work has meaning for you and how it can help them, how can they connect with you?
Yeah, the best way to connect with me is through almost any social media platform. Instagram's where I hang out. Facebook's another great one, but at Soulify Wellness, so Soulify Wellness. And if you are having any issues with your marriage, feel free to download a guide. It's called 3 Ways to Save a Marriage, and it's www.freemarriageguide.com. So check me out. Just say hi if you need some strategies. I'm always up for giving a couple free strategies here or there anyway. So send me a DM or download the guide.
Excellent. I will, by the way, include the notes in the episode notes once the episode goes live. Oh my goodness, I couldn't spit that out. Okay. So the idea of marriage these days, Beth, just in closing, some people would say is a little bit outdated. However, here you are doing this really important, beautiful, sacred work around marriage and union. What would be a piece of wisdom or some thoughts you would like to leave us with in relation to this work, or maybe marriage altogether?
Yeah, that's a great question. Marriage is actually second. I really take it's still you first. You have to be in a good place so that you can love and be loved. And so if you don't do the work on yourself first, you're probably holding your marriage back from its potential. So it's really important that you work on yourself first. And that your heart, I work with so many wives, their hearts are closed. Like, they literally are, some are shriveled up and black. Others just have this hard crust on the outside where they're not letting love in, which means they can't let love out either. So I think a big part of that is really starting, like a starting point is your intuition. And if that's shot, because a lot of women I work with do, their husbands have cheated on them. They have no intuition anymore because what they've been suspecting for so long, they've been told is not true. So you know what, if you're in pain, get a journal out. That's probably one of the first steps too, is just get a journal and start writing that conscious stream of writing that we were talking about, just getting it all out there. And because we need to start to get you in touch with your intuition and then start to love yourself, get you built up with your confidence. Those are really powerful things. And then when you are like taking your backpack off, if your backpack's full of all this pain, trauma, hurt, take that backpack off, and then all of a sudden you have space in you for love and your ability to create healthy boundaries so that you can communicate. And that's what transforms a marriage. When your vibration's higher, it's like you're the party. If you go walk into a party, the party's really fun. You want to be there. But if you walk into the funeral, you feel it, it's heavy. So we want to get your vibration up, clear out that heavy stuff, that funeral like heavy stuff, so that you're the party and that people enjoy being around with you. And often your husband will up level with you because you don't tolerate that low vibe stuff anymore.
Yeah, really important. So, my loves, connect with Beth on social media. All the links are going to be below. And if you have any questions or need further guidance about your marriage, about your union, or about how you can start your own journey of empowerment and intuition and strength, inner strength, then feel free to contact Beth, and she will guide you like she guided me. It's wonderful. All right, Beth. So I want to say thank you so much for spending time with me here today. I will now close this episode, and I have a little offering that I do at the end, some beautiful light codes, like an imagery. But if you don't mind, would you please stay in the studio so that you and I can finish up once this recording is done? Okay?
Oh, I would love to. Thank you.
Thank you, sweetheart. Okay, my love. So that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed that wonderful episode with Beth. Don't you love how there are so many, despite what's in media, most commonly, don't you love seeing just how many extraordinary people there are out there in the world doing this fantastic work? That's not just work, it's actually a mission, passion, a true offering from the heart. So don't ever hesitate to go and seek out people that are truly doing this mission almost work, or being in service to the collective, truly with integrity and full transparency. So I will leave you on that note, and feel free to send either one of us a message, connect with us, and we will see you on social media. Bye-bye for now.